Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis.
Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts presented by LeBears in Baton Rouge. Ronnie Rance alongside our guests for the first half hour of the show. We'll be joined by Glenn Gilbo. The second hour is old friend Scott Rabelais will join us here in studio. Sports Shorts presented by LeBears Casino. All kind of great goings on over at LeBears. Check them out on the app. Let's bring in Glenn Gilbo, who's been writing and covering sports in the Louisiana area since before at least Nathan was born, our producer. Glenn, how are you, sir?
Good. Happy summer to you.
You too. Started sports writing when you got done at college. Back when?
I graduated from University of Missouri in August of 1983. Had a little extended stay there past May.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I started at the Tiger Rag magazine in Baton Rouge that September.
I remember the Tiger Rag, the Bible of LSU sports. That's their tagline. I can remember in the 80s, that was the heyday of the Tiger Rag. I mean, there was no internet. There was none of that. I mean, if you were going to get LSU scoop, that was where you got it.
Yeah, it was fun. You know, it usually arrived in the mail at people's houses on Tuesday. And then, you know, we had big newsstand sales too. You know, I think the circulation was like over 12,000 at one time, and you know it was like around, I don't know what it is now. I mean print.
Yeah, but I mean that was paid too.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was paid. You know, it's not like nowadays where most of the magazines out there are free that you pick up at
right.
But that was paid subscriptions and stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
But it was a fun way to start, and I got to cover LSU. You know, at 22 years old, so that's what I was excited about.
Well, now you get to cover LSU at whatever age. We're not going to ask. We could do some math. 57. There you go. This has been an interesting year for LSU athletics. You know, some years are obviously more spicy than others. This year, with everything that transpired, the football team had a nice run. You know, going back to the beginning of the year, you win a New Year's Day bowl game. No matter the competition, no matter the bowl game, a bowl game on New Year's Day win, that's a huge accomplishment for LSU football. Then you get into basketball. They win an SEC championship, but with all the goings on, players are going to play or not. Coach is going to coach, suspension. I mean, it was a crazy time around LSU basketball, probably the wildest time since Dale Brown back when the broadhead bugged his office. Wouldn't you say? Was it probably the most scandalous since then?
There's been a lot of wild times.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild. And you know, my first year, Coach Stovall got fired, and John McKithen was involved, and Bob Broadhead was like waiting to fire him, even though he was doing well. But this year was crazy because on the surface, very good football season, best basketball season in 10 years. Athletic director gets fired.
Right.
You know, it usually doesn't happen like that, but there was more to that story. But no, it was definitely a crazy year, and on the same day that it's out there that the athletic director is fired, there's a new athletic director all of a sudden. You know, which never happens at LSU. There's usually a ridiculous search with too many people involved. This one was done right behind closed doors.
Well, now that you've had time to kind of digest the Oliva firing, the Woodward hiring, and now that we're a couple months away from that, and you've had a chance to talk to Woodward and kind of think back on it, probably the most well thought out plan in the history of LSU athletics. I mean, really,
it really was, because where LSU has messed up over the years is when there's too many people involved in a decision. You know, we were just talking about Skip. There was really only a couple of guys hired. Skip from Miami, Wally McMakin and Bob Broadhead. You know, that was it. Whereas, you know, you had this 12-man search committee with academians trying to replace Bill Arnsparger back in 86, and, you know, they missed on Steve Spurrier and hired an assistant coach, Mike Archer. But this one was done quietly. It was done behind closed doors, and they got in the right man, you know, and they got in Scott Woodward, who was a guy they probably should have hired years before if they could have.
Did you your history with Woodward? Have you known each other a long time?
Just a little bit. I mean, I remember seeing him a lot around Mark Emmert, obviously, in 1999, 2000, when Emmert was coming in as chancellor. Woodward was his liaison to the athletic department and to the legislature because he had a perfect background for that, and started seeing him more and more. And then he followed Emmert to Washington as in the chancellor's office again, and then became athletic director. And then his career kind of took off. He's a great guy. I mean, I don't know him that well, but I interviewed him last week, and I mean, he's really the most qualified, perfect hire I think they've had as athletic director.
You mentioned Woodward. You mentioned Dan Radakovich. Kind of the thought was that either of them should have been the LSU athletic director well before 2019.
Oh, no question.
Give us a little history of that. What both of their opportunities, their window of opportunity prior to now.
Well, the Dan Radakovich was hired by Skip when Skip took over as athletic director when he was still coaching the baseball team, and almost got to Omaha. It's really amazing the things he was doing in 2001. And Radakovich was really his internal athletic director, while Skip was the external athletic director. And Radakovich did a great job. He brought in, along with Woodward and Herb Vincent and Verge Osbury, they brought in that ticket licensing program, which made LSU a lot of money, and LSU was behind like 10 years of the other schools. And so when it came time for Skip, when Skip retired, Radakovich would have been a much better choice. And what was amazing, and I found a column I wrote back at the time. Joe Oliva should never have been hired in the first place.
Right.
When you compare him to the other people that were up for the job, including Scott Woodward, Dan Radakovich, and the selection committee actually recommended 3 others. And he was coming off the lacrosse thing, and really Joe Lombardi, the chancellor, just kind of decided on his own to hire him, and that ended up being a mistake, as we all know. Whereas the hiring of Woodward was also behind the scenes, but it was done by a few people. Richard Lipsey, the board of supervisors, were all involved in that.
Now, you mentioned Skip and Radakovich. You're working on a project right now. Tell the folks about what you're doing.
Well, working on Skip Bertman's book, Everything Matters, and there's a big chapter in it that I'm working on his time as athletic director when he took over. And that's why I just talked to Radakovich last week about those days, and Dan recalls them. I got a great story if you got a second.
Yeah, sure. What we got?
Dan was telling me that Skip was just preoccupied with motorhome parking at LSU. Okay, because why? Because people who own motorhomes, they got money, right? Okay, so and he didn't like, they were getting off like $1,000 a year, and compared to other schools, that was cheap. So Skip had an idea. All right, we're going to bring them closer to the stadium so they can park, and we're going to charge. I want to charge them $5,000. Okay, and so he has a meeting with several. Typical Skip. He brings in the RV owner for a meeting.
He's going to explain why we need to charge you $5,000.
Skip's appeal to the common man. Other ADs, they wouldn't bring these people in.
Right.
Okay. So he has all these RV owners. I don't know if they drove their RV to the meeting, maybe not. And he's got Verge and Herb and Radakovich and all of his lieutenants, his assistant coaches, his pitching coaches, so to speak. And he says, and he starts explaining the program. We're going to bring you closer to the stadium, and he points over to all his guys. He goes, now these guys want to charge you $10,000 a year, but I said no. We're going to charge you $5,000, and they give him a standing ovation, not realizing that they just got raised $4,000. And Radakovich said, "This guy is a genius." and afterwards, all the guys leave, and Radakovich and Verge and Herb go, "What are you doing, Skip? You didn't tell us you were going to say that. Learn from it."
That's well played, and I'll tell you another a Skip one. It's actually, it runs in the family. I'll tell you the story about his wife, Sandy. For years they had the Skip Bertman baseball camp from the time he came in, his first season, 1984.
Another moneymaker.
Until 2001, his last season, and by the end the camp was so massive, and they had a number of weeks in the summer, and they had a Christmas camp, and they were making a couple $100,000 a year off this camp. Well, that was, Coach Bertman's money or the family's money, but Miss Sandy had the concessions. She had what she called the canteen.
Oh.
And the canteen was where you got, Powerades and Cokes and candies and T-shirts and hats and balls and gum and all that stuff. So throughout the week, every day at camp at the Alex Box Stadium, Miss Sandy and her staff, ran this canteen. So when the parents would come to drop them off on Sunday at the time and they'd pick them up on Friday, the camp, they used to be Sunday evening all the way to Friday morning. It's now much shorter. But, they'd have the canteen set up on Sunday and Friday. And, of course, the kids would be, Mom, I got to get this T-shirt and that hat and whatever. And then throughout the week, the canteen would be there during the day. And then at night, they'd break it down and they had a canteen back at the team hotel, wherever it was. And they would sell pizzas at night and all this stuff. Well, in its heyday, reports are that she might have made upwards of around $100,000 a year just on the canteen sales and all the stuff, right? But Randy Davis, former assistant coach, I believe it was Randy or Rooster, one of the two. They're both kind of one and the same. They tell a great story about she had gotten these brand new T-shirts. So let's say all the T-shirts were $15. Well, she had gone out and bought and got this really good deal and got some T-shirts donated and all, and got these special purple T-shirts, totally different than the ones that they were selling. And she was going to sell them for $10.
Okay.
So she got like gazillions of these T-shirts. Was going to sell them for $5 cheaper. You're going to move them left and right. Well, after a few days, the T-shirts weren't moving. And she was like, what is going on? And had a conversation with Rooster or Randy or one of them. And like, what is going on? I got these great T-shirts. They look better than the ones that are 15, but they're not moving. And one of them said, well, why don't you charge 20? He said, what do you mean? Said, the most expensive T-shirts usually the ones everybody wants. So she took a chance. She doubled the price from $10 to $20 and sold them out by the end of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. And so anyway, the Bertmans, geniuses of business in Baton Rouge.
Oh.
So the book is called what now?
Skip, Everything Matters.
Everything Matters, and timeline-ish on when that book will be out on the streets.
You keep asking me that.
I know,
Lance.
because it changes.
No. I'm saying early next year.
Early next year.
Spring next year.
Okay, so the baseball season next year.
Yeah, it'll not at the beginning of the baseball season probably, but in the spring area of baseball season, and hopefully LSU will return to Omaha next year, so that would be good. But it's still a lot of work to be done. A lot of interviews, but it's really funny. I mean, when I'm sitting there transcribing interviews and I'm laughing out loud.
Right.
That doesn't happen a lot when you're doing work. But people's memories are, Skip hadn't coached in almost 20 years, but he was AD up until 2008, right?
I believe so.
And memories are still very fresh.
Well, and of all the people that could be working on this project, you're one, too, that can appreciate it. You were around during a lot of it. You've known Coach Bertman going back to the 80s. You know all the people involved, the Radakoviches and the Herb Vincents and Bill Frankeses. And so it's got to be even more special for you to do this project, to be working on this project, having so much history involved. It
is fun, and that makes it easier because I can just go back and find stories I did years ago and basically plagiarize myself. And I was one of the first ones to interview him. His first office was in the Assembly Center. He was kind of across the hall or next to Dale Brown, and I remember going in there and interviewing him in the fall, which was my first year. Fall of '83 was my first year at Tiger Rag. And he was hired in July of '83 after the '83 season at Miami. They didn't get to Omaha that year. So, I was able to be around when that all first started.
You were a young guy back then in '83. When you first went and interviewed him, your takeaway from that, did anything pique your interest in that interview? Did you think, wow, this guy, there's something different about this guy, or was it just any old interview?
Well, I already knew he was really great because I remember Herb Vincent and I worked in the sports information department as students at LSU. And we kind of knew that there was a movement towards Skip before he was hired, and that hidden ball trick got a lot of attention in the '82 World Series when he was a pitching coach at Miami. So, but no, he was like he always was. He was very friendly, and hey, come on some road trips with us, and we'll see you next spring and everything. But no, he was always real friendly to a point, because sometimes he'd have to say, "Hey, look, you don't know what you're talking about." How gruff he is.
Right.
But no, he was like he always was. He's always been a salesman, a teacher, very knowledgeable.
Now, I wonder how he would have fared in today's game from a standpoint of all of the coverage. When Coach Bertman retired from coaching baseball in 2001, there wasn't the every channel, every station, sports talk shows all the time. There wasn't the the blogs and the internet coverage. Nowadays there's so much media coverage. There's all the second guessing that goes on by the media, by the fans, by the bloggers, and we see a lot of coaches not always handle that very well or get very thin-skinned. And Coach Bertman, to me, always seemed like he had, to a certain degree, and firsthand, somewhat thick-skinned, but he wasn't dealing with what he's dealing with now. But you have a great story. Well, I'm going to go take a break. When we come back, you got a great story about thick skin because it actually involves me a little bit too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to be in the book. That's going to be in my book. Might not be in Skip's book.
Right. He's not going to write that one. All right, we'll take a time out. Sports Shorts presented by LaBerge Casino. When we come back, more with longtime sports writer Glenn Guilbeau, and then later on, we'll talk to the advocate Scott Rabelais. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts. Ronnie Rance alongside Glenn Guilbeau. And look for Glenn's project next spring. Going to be exciting. writing Skip Bertman's book, Everything Matters, and I can that's a perfect title because I can remember him saying that to us as players constantly. He'd always say, everything matters. Look, if we've got more bullets in our holster than the other team. See, if we've got 36 bullets and they've got 22, then we're going to win. See, more times than
new bats.
Are we really, each pickoff play or bunt play or the ability to slide step, that's a bullet. Yeah. And look, we don't really need 4 pickoff plays a second, but we're never going to run 4 pickoff plays a second. But if we can, then the other team knows that. See, they're not going to steal.
To answer your question earlier, you're talking about how would Skip handle I think Skip would handle it fine because if you look at Skip during the 90s at LSU, he adjusted a lot throughout his 5 national championships. His first one was all pitching. His second to last one was all hitting.
Right.
He went from defensive coordinator to offensive coordinator over his span at LSU, and then 2000 was kind of a little of both, more.
So
back
you thought
to
you think he would have adjusted to the landscape of the media if he was coaching?
I remember
now?
I covered him at the Advocate in 2000 and 2001, and he won the national championship in 2000. And the media at that time was, it wasn't all internet; it was still print, but there was a lot of people at his super regional in 2000. I remember.
Yeah,
that was against UCLA. There were a lot of media there, and he knew how to handle that. I think he always wanted more media. Remember, when some like Reveille person would interview him, he'd say, CBS? He'd always say, oh, CBS? He'd say that to me, too, when I was at the Town Talk, which I don't even think he knew where that was. CBS?
Well, I do have a funny story. We won't go too deep into it because it will be in Glenn's memoir book at some point in his career. But it just turns out when you were at the Town Talk, Alexandria Daily Town Talk, and I was a senior in high school at Menard in Alexandria, you wrote an article.
88, right? Class of 88?
No, 1990.
Okay.
Your article came out.
That's right.
In May of 1990.
Yeah.
And it was an article, Russ Springer, who had gone to Grant High School and has played at LSU 87 to 89, of course, is in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and played 17, 18 years in the major leagues. Russ, who had a little arm trouble at the end of his LSU career, and his dad was kind of an outspoken critic of Skip's. Well, he was an outspoken critic of, and to his face, to give him credit, he would call Skip and tell Skip. And basically, the gist of it was that at the time he was there at the same time as Ben McDonald, and he felt like Russ was in the shadow of Ben a little bit, and he blamed that on Skip. And so anyway, you had written an article, and his dad was very outspoken, and you just quoted his dad in a lot of stuff. And one of the things his dad said was he blamed Skip for his son's arm injury in college. Well, the article comes out.
And I didn't know this part.
Right.
I did not know this part.
The article comes out literally the day that I am signing with LSU in Alexandria, which at the time was big news. And they were like, Randy Davis shows up to sign me. And there's
if the term fake news was around then,
right.
He would have used it.
He would have used it. And there were like 2 TV trucks, KLAX and KLB in the driveway. I'm signing, and Randy Davis shows up, and he's literally got the newspaper with Glenn's article.
Skip ruined Springer.
Yeah, with the headline, of Springer's dad lambasting a Skip. And so I remember Randy, before we went in to talk to the media, said, "Hey, man, no, we're not going to talk about this article. Are you good?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. That's not going to happen to me." But
that was wild. When
Skip wasn't a big fan of that article.
No, but now in my defense, that article quoted Russell and his dad, but it also quoted Skip, and it had both sides.
Right, sure.
And it won a national award, APSE too. But it was obviously, though, it was I could see why Skip was upset about it, even though it did have both sides in there, or attempted to have both sides in there. But I remember talking to Randy Davis. Randy called me and said, "Hey, you need to go talk to Skip. He's upset, but I want to talk to you first." And he explained to me,
the history,
some background.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Randy had a great explanation. He said, "Look, Russell Springer's dad. He's from Grant Parish. All those people are unhappy. they have to work with the wood and everything up there. The sawmill. They're unhappy. They're all mad all the time." But no, I went in and talked to Skip, and in his office at the the trailer at the old box, and he was professional at first, but then we kind of got into it, going back and forth, and he says, "I know the governor, I know the editor of the papers, I can get you fired and everything," and then he calmed down and kind of apologized.
Right.
But anyway, we talked it out, and he explained, he made some excellent points that come true today. Nobody really understands the arm. I mean, nobody really knows why people get hurt. Nolan Ryan has a completely different strategy toward arms. Mainieri always kind of babies his pitchers, and look at the injuries they've had.
Right.
But there were some instances where I think Skip pushed it a little bit, a couple of times.
Right.
Springer, maybe a couple other pitchers, but he changed from that. But the cool thing about Skip, he had it out with me. He let me know. And he also said that minor league pitchers get their arms ruined all the time and nobody hears about it.
Right.
And at this time, Gustafson at Texas was getting a lot of that criticism. It was building. So Skip brought up his points. We hashed it out, and then that was 90, and they went to Omaha, and he was completely different to me in Omaha. I mean, he was much nicer to me. I mean, it was like we
you had your moment and moved on.
Yeah,
right.
and
that's all you can ask
was
for.
Great, and he was great, and that's how Dale Brown was too. He'd have a moment with you, but then you were fine. He didn't hold grudges, and that's how Skip was, and it shows you what kind of person he was. And he made some good points because nobody really knows how the arm is. And look at Russell. Here he is. He had an arm surgery right after his LSU career. He pitched for 20 years.
Right.
Okay? And Mr. Springer said that Skip was protecting Ben and when using his son as a workhorse. Well, Ben only lasted about 5 or 6 years.
Oh, no. Ben got in like his 10, 11.
He got 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
Just seemed like that compared
5 or
to
6
Russell.
with the Orioles.
Right.
I'm sorry. And then he bounced around a few years. But, he had some arm issues,
But Ben
too.
threw a lot, too, in college.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, compared to what they do now. I mean, nowadays, a top 3 starter in college, generally, if a guy like a Ben or Russ Springer were playing today, they would get 17 starts in a big year. They'd get 3 or 4 before the conference starts. Their 10 conference starts, and then whatever they get postseason, an SEC tournament start, maybe a regional. Depends on how far they go, but they'd get 1 start a week.
Oh yeah.
And if you're healthy, you get 1 start a week, and you basically play 10 conference games. You play, I think, 3 or 4 non-conference series, and then you got whatever you get postseason-wise. So, at the most, you're probably 18, 19 starts, but probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 16.
But he had the 7-inning starts, though, back in the day.
Well, right.
On Saturday.
Well, when you had the doubleheader. Yeah, Russ got the doubleheader. Yeah. Back then you played
Russ pitched on Sunday a lot.
Okay.
But now.
Yeah, you played 9-7. You played, I'm sorry.
7-7-9.
No. It wasn't. No, it was 9 and 7.
No. It was two 7-inning games on Saturday, 9-inning game on Sunday.
Well, maybe that was the 80s, but I'm telling you, when I was in 91, 92, 93, it was 9 and 7 and then a 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to check that, buddy.
But because like Scott Schultz and Brett Laxton, they were both freshman All-Americans in 92, 93,
right.
and they pitched the 7-inning game.
That's right.
After Peaver and Tharatka threw the first game.
It wasn't 2-7. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But the other thing about McDonald, and I didn't realize this until he was interviewed in Omaha last week, he pitched on Team USA all summer.
In 88.
And right off of the 88 season and going into 89.
Right.
And that wasn't much of a break there. So he was saying by the time they went to Omaha in 89, after they upset A&M, he had it.
Yeah, I want to say he had figured he threw like 300 and something innings or something in like a 14 months or something like that.
Exactly.
15 months.
So that was that was a different time. And there were certain pitchers.
But to your point that you made earlier, granted, 30 years ago you had less information than they do now, but now there may be a paralysis by analysis type of thing. They're going the other way. Like, hey, coach, I feel a little something up. Shut him down. Don't let him throw for a month. You know?
And guys don't know how to pitch a long way.
Right.
Whereas that's what Nolan Ryan says. If you extend it a bit, you get stronger for the next time. Whereas if you don't, you never get stronger. So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, and there's no rhyme or reason. I mean, LSU was fortunate for many, many years until recently under Alan Dunn and Paul Maneri, they didn't have a lot of arm troubles.
Yeah,
and then
all
it
of a
seems like
sudden-
in the last 3 years, there's been more and more of that. Mississippi State got hit by the bug 2 years ago, went to Omaha, had a bunch of arm injuries. On a smaller level, Will Davis over at Lamar, they finished dead last in the conference this year in the Southland. They had like 8 arm injuries.
Yeah.
So I mean, who can absorb that? So it's just a weird thing. I don't know that there's a perfect scenario. Probably it's a combination of pushing, but also I think players nowadays, a lot of these young players don't necessarily know the difference between an arm injury and arm soreness.
Right.
You can have discomfort. The ball's not going to always jump out of your hand perfectly, and that's okay, versus an injury where it's an ow, I need to shut it down, go see a doctor, figure out a rehab.
And I think that's where Cole Henry fell in. I think Cole Henry was
Right.
just sore in
Right.
the Super Regional because Maneri said a week later
He was fine.
he could have pitched in Omaha
Right.
after some rest. So, it's
Well,
it's
I
strange.
think too. When you're a guy like a Cole Henry or a Jalen or the Hill kid or a Marceau, any of these guys that were, they truly have a major league future. Barring injury, they were guys that were offered $1 million plus out of high school. When you're in that level, that's different than what Ronnie Rance and Doug Thompson
Yeah,
had to go
an
through, right?
investment.
I mean, they have a team, they have an agent. They've got a family. They've got their team around them that are. It's not just about winning an SEC championship. It's about, we want to do that, but we also going to pitch in the major leagues one day. And so I think when you've got that team around you, nowadays it's a little different because when you feel something, 8 people are weighing in.
Yeah.
In your ear. Oh, hey, be careful, got to shut it down. And in Cole Henry's case, he's draft eligible next year as a sophomore. That's a little different than he's like a Kevin Gausman who was in that same situation. So he may and probably will, barring some further injury, if he shows and has a normal year and throws his 92, 95 and with the big hammer, he's going to go next year. He'll be a top 2-round pick and he'll sign.
And he had a major arm injury in high school.
Yeah.
He missed his whole junior year. That's something that, it's admirable of LSU to stick with a kid that commits to them in high school, then gets an arm injury. Maneri said that they still stick with him. But I think they need to do a better job of getting guys out of high school who have a fresh arm.
Right.
Haven't had any injuries because they've had a lot of guys come in with injuries. And Paul said, well, we can rehab better than maybe they were being rehabbed in high school. Okay, but they got to mix in some uninjured pitchers
you definitely
and some left-handers.
Lefties number one.
Yeah,
I'll even take some injured ones. But lefties number one. But also, you got to keep in mind too. I think a lot of the guys that they take quote unquote injured are high level guys. Like an Alex Bregman, for example, right? Alex Bregman was,
and they might not get them if they were
exactly.
clean.
Alex Bregman, had he been healthy his senior year, would not have gone to college.
Right.
You take a guy like that. Some of these pitchers, a little banged up, but they've got 90 plus in their arms,
Yeah.
so we're going to
Yeah.
give them a chance. I know personally, a pitcher who LSU helped get to junior college because he was injured, but he also wasn't a 90 plus guy. So I think depending on the skill level, you roll the dice.
Sure.
Because you might big risk, big reward on some of these cats.
Right.
He's Glenn Gilbo. I'm Ronnie Rance. Glenn, before we let you go, one last time, want to plug the book. So excited about the project. How many man hours do you think you will have put in by the time this book comes to fruition?
About as many innings as Ben McDonald threw.
True.
But no, it's a lot of work. But
have you done books to this magnitude
no,
before?
I've never done a book.
Okay.
This is my first
project.
book, and I feel real lucky that Skip is taking a chance on me. I'm kind of coming out of the bullpen because Leo Honeycutt
got the ball started.
And he's going to be named on the book, and I'm using he did some great work on it too. But no, this is my first book, and I'm lucky that a subject I already know a lot about, and I'm just glad Skip took a chance on me.
Well, 2020 is going to be the year of Skip Ertman. He's 81. He'll be 82 next May 23rd. But you'll have the book will come out sometime in the spring, and then of course next summer, June-ish 2020, ESPN's 1-hour documentary, SEC Stories will come out. And so that'll be really
That's
really
looking
cool.
good, too.
Yeah, that's really going to be really interesting. Glenn, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate you coming down. Glenn Guilbeau, always been a great sports writer, going back to, we found out tonight, 1983. That's when he made his debut with the Tiger Rag. We'll take a break when we come back. Scott Rabelais of The Advocate will be next.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts, presented by LeBear's Casino in Baton Rouge. All kind of great shows coming up over at LeBear's. Go to Ticketmaster.com, or you can download the LeBear's Baton Rouge app on your phone and see what shows are coming up or concerts that for free are at the Edge Lounge. Thanks to Glenn Guilbeau, who joined us in the first half hour of the show. We bring in right now a longtime sports writer, Scott Rabelais of The Advocate. Scott, thanks for joining us, man.
Long time means old.
Well, Glenn said he started.
He's older.
Yeah, he started out in '83 with the Tiger Rag. That was his first kind of gig out of school. What was yours?
My first job was a part-time job covering preps for the State Times, which was our afternoon newspaper, which ended in 1991.
So when was that? Your
89.
First year? 89 was your first year.
Yeah, so I'm coming up on 30 years.
Now, where'd you go to high school?
Baton Rouge High.
Baton Rouge High. Okay, all right.
Played on the golf team, state champs, 1983.
Very nice.
Although I was one of those guys like on the end of the bench at Kentucky who sits and claps. That was me.
Did you have a guy like a college?
We did.
College players?
Alex Lidback, Jenny Lidback's younger brother, went on to play at LSU briefly. Jenny was, of course, an All-American at LSU, and he was your
ace.
Yeah, we had a good team.
Do you still play?
I played Sunday down at Audubon Park in New Orleans. Been wanting to play down there before. It was hot though. I don't know. Going out in the heat.
But it's a short course, so that's not too bad.
No, it wasn't
right?
too bad.
Yeah.
I played 9 holes at Pebble Beach earlier this year. They have a little 9-hole course above the lodge called the Peter Hay course. It's like a little scruffy little 9-hole course, but it's fun. You're on the property and you play. So that's still a bucket list though to play.
So what
Pebble
kind of
Beach.
handicap would you give yourself these days?
I'm a bogey golfer.
Okay, 18.
Yeah, probably so.
All right. Well, you and I could play then.
I did shoot 79. I shot 79 in Birmingham at the SEC tournament though, on a par 70 course. So
back in the day or recently?
No, when I was there for the SEC tournament.
Well, then you and I can't play that. I've never broke 80 in my life. The highlight of I think I've broken 90. Like I shot 90 the other day at Metairie Country Club. I want to say I broke 90 3 times in my life. But the most exciting break of 90 was I shot an 89 at the Old Course in Scotland about a year ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was really, really
I've
cool.
not been there yet, but that's one of the ones I've been to. And of course, I go to the Masters every year, and they let you play on Monday, but it's a lottery, and I've never gotten in it. I've like half the time.
So the media gets to enter a lottery?
Yeah, there's about 30 spots or so on Monday.
And how many people? How many? It's just for media?
No, the media, CBS people, sponsors play.
Okay.
It's a lot of people.
I'm sure the sponsors get pulled a little more than you
about
would.
30
right?
slots for the media, and then if you get in it, you can't get in again for 7 years. So it's almost a bucket list kind of thing.
Okay.
And I've covered it about 12 times, and I've entered it half the time, and half the time I haven't. I did enter this year, but I think I'll try to.
Do you ever see former LSU Tiger captain on the 08 LSU baseball team, Paul Maneri's first team to Omaha when they won 23 games in a row? Mike Hollander, who played shortstop, was a captain of that team. He's a marshal at the Masters.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm always looking for. I'll have to look him up.
His dad, Big Mike, was a marshal for years, along I think with Mike's brother maybe. And then when his dad, decided, 5 years ago, something like that was it.
Yeah.
And that you can't pass your spot on to anyone else if you're a marshal. It's not like you can say, okay, I'm out.
Right.
I want to give it to Ronnie.
Right.
But he had a great relationship with the guy who was in charge of the marshals. The Hollanders had worked there for years, and so he said, look, I really want to get my son in here, and they allowed it.
Yeah.
So little Mike's been a marshal there for like 4 or 5 years in a row.
And
he goes every year.
I know some people from town. Mike Norman is a retired pharmacist, and his son who lives in Phoenix, he comes in. There's some other local people, and their reward is they got to pay their way to go. They get a shirt, and they'll feed them.
Right.
But they have to come. Their reward is they get to come back and play in May. Not the day after the tournament like the media does, but they got to come back and play before they close because the club closes for the summer.
Right.
And that's when they do their renovations and stuff. So that's their reward, but it's not a bad reward. I mean, if you got the time and the money to be able to go play Augusta every May,
and they don't have to walk it either. They get to ride carts when they come back in May. But that's the thing is that there's a lot of people out there who would pay a lot of money to play Augusta just once, Augusta National just once. So from that perspective, hey, it's worth it to volunteer for 7 days. You get a shirt, a hat, maybe 2 shirts and a hat. That's about all you get. And then, but yeah, it's a pretty great reward. And Mike said it's an amazing experience. That's why he does it every year.
I'm sure they have no lack of people who want to do that.
So I would assume a lot of people want to cover the Masters, but you get a chance to do so. You've done so for years. Is it one of those situations where you got your slot and nobody else can get it type of thing? I
mean, I started going in 2002. Yeah, 2002, and. It's just we apply every year and they send us they send us credential requests and I send it in and it's I get the Times-Picayune covered it for a number of years. Peter Finney used to go for them for a number of years and in fact he went like 40 years. He had a little gold plaque in the old media center. So it's possible they give me the same seat every year. I sit next to the guys from golfchannel.com and on row H and it's my spot.
What's your favorite Master story that you have? Covering it since 2002.
Well, I mean, obviously, Tiger winning was a big deal. Patrick Reed winning last year was a big deal because he played at U-High, not a local guy, but he grew up here. The Smiley Kaufman being in the final group was really a cool thing. I mean, it was just totally out of the blue, and he's in this final group with Jordan Spieth. Didn't play well, unfortunately, but didn't go well for Jordan either. And being there for I was there when Phil Mickelson won his first Masters. Those were all pretty cool moments.
are you more of an egg salad or pimento cheese?
Pimento cheese.
Okay,
sure.
pimento cheese.
I don't get the big deal about the egg salad. I have a pimento cheese every year when I go there.
All right.
I have several.
Yeah,
on the first week,
I bet you do. Scott Rabelais of the Advocate. All right, let's talk a little LSU baseball for a minute, and then bounce around a few different subjects. You've been covering the Tigers, and this year preseason number 1, number 2. They don't make it to Omaha. They're 13th seed, so in essence, they really were kind of the 13th team in the country, is what their ranking was according to the NCAA. Really, is it just as simple in your mind that, hey, Cole Henry was hurt and they had some, Hill was hurt and Marceau had some. If it wasn't for that, this team would be in Omaha competing for a championship?
I think if their plan had worked, which was to start Hess and move into the bullpen, these young guys come along, and if they pitch all season, I think they could have been a top 8 national seed. And I mean, there weren't that many wins away. 5 wins
max.
More, and they're that's where they are. So I think they weren't that far off, but I think I don't think the hitting was ever. The lineup was ever
consistent.
Consistently productive.
To me was the biggest issue.
Yeah,
all
it was
year.
ever consistently productive enough for them. But yeah, I don't think they were that far off. And obviously, with LSU, is always you don't go to Omaha, it's a disappointment. Is the program falling off? I mean, 2 years ago they played for the national championship, and again, if Eric Walker doesn't get hurt, maybe they win that. So it's been a little underperforming combined with some misfortune in terms of the injuries. But it's as we were talking before we started, it's a pivotal year for LSU and Pullman area, I think, going into next season.
Yeah, the point I brought up was LSU baseball has never gone more than 3 years in a row since Skip Bertman's arrival in 1984 without going to Omaha. And they did do 3 years in 2010, 2011, and 2012 under Pulmonary. They didn't go to Omaha, and then, of course, they did in 13. This would be the third year in a row in 2019 if they don't make it. I mean 2020 if they don't make it to Omaha. But the landscape of college baseball has changed dramatically. I mean, you look around. LSU lost to Florida in the national championship. Florida, their program doesn't resemble what it was in 2017. You look at Oregon State losing in a regional at home 2 straight this year to a Michigan program. Cal State Fullerton didn't make a regional. Texas, who was in Omaha last year, didn't make a regional. So it's the flip-flopping. I mean, Tulane hadn't been in a regional in 3 years in a row. That's a pretty solid program that usually every couple of years is in. It just seems like the parity is more prevalent now than ever.
There's no question. I mean, you look around the SEC, everyone's got a new or improved ballpark that's been built in the last 10 years. LSU's now is one of the older ones. In terms of but State's at the same place where they renovated the whole thing. There's a lot more good teams that are out there. Most of the national champions in recent years have been unseeded teams. If Michigan happens to win this series, as we're talking about it, they're getting ready to start playing Vanderbilt, who's the number 2 overall seed, the favorite. It would be yet another unseeded team that could win. There are a lot more teams out there that can win. It's much more difficult to get there than it was in the 80s and 90s and to win. You're not going to see LSU or any team win 5 titles in 10 years again.
Jake Mangum had a little speech there at the end the other day at the College World Series. The great player for Mississippi State, who's the all-time hits leader in the conference, and his last thing before he got off the podium was he was lobbying for that 3rd paid assistant in college baseball, as well as more scholarships. There's only 11.7 scholarships. There's more than that in softball and other sports. Is any of this going to change? I mean, at what point are there going to be more than 11.7 scholarships? I mean, it seems to me that's got to be changing soon.
Scholarships numbers are always hard to move. I mean, there was a proposal at the SEC spring meeting to add 2 scholarships in gymnastics, which is a head count sport. You can't split up a scholarship in gymnastics like you do in baseball, and that got shut down. They did not forward that to the NCAA. So those are always difficult issues. But the underlying, go back to the whole thing, Title IX, the underlying problem for baseball is that you have to have the same number of scholarships for men and for women, and there's no women's sport that's the equivalent of football with its 85 scholarships.
So it skews everything.
It skews everything tremendously, and that's why there are more women's sports at a lot of schools than men's sports. There's a women's beach volleyball team at LSU, but there's not a men's beach volleyball team, for example. as a women's volleyball
or,
team,
women's
indoor.
soccer and no men's soccer.
Right. Yeah. So you have to have these sports that make up the difference. So I think baseball gets caught in that bind, in that catch-22 of you can't have more scholarships, you need more scholarships, but and you can only divide them a certain way now. It's difficult. As far as the third assistant goes, I think everybody was shocked that didn't pass. And was not the Big Ten one of the
Big
conferences
Ten
that shut
and
it down?
the Big 12 were the two conferences,
and the Big Ten's got a school in the final.
The Big 12's got Texas and Oklahoma State. These are perennial powerhouse. Texas Tech. These are perennial powerhouse baseball programs. It shocked me that it didn't pass.
I think college baseball still is kind of a Johnny-come-lately for a lot of schools in terms of, and a lot of conferences in terms of its importance, its ability to create revenue for itself, and it's a fight they're going to have to continue to have. But that was I think that shocked a lot of people that the third assistant did not pass.
Yeah, I would love to see college baseball go the way of Power 5 football, where they've gotten the okay by the NCAA to kind of make their rules to a certain extent, right? When it comes to the cafeterias and the dorms and all that, and like, hey, UL, you don't have to do this. You can if you want, but we're going to do it. I'd like to see baseball move in that direction and say, look, we're going to have 15 scholarships and whatever rule changes they want. Brown University, you don't have to, or ULM, you don't have to, but we're going to do it. And hopefully that's where it goes. He's Scott Rabelais of The Advocate. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Final segment of Sports Shorts presented by LaBerge.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back. Final segment of Sports Shorts TV presented by LeBears Casino. Joining us is Scott Rabelais, who's been one of the kingpins of sports writing in Baton Rouge for going on about 3 decades. He's on the Mount Rushmore of sports writing in the Baton Rouge area. So let's talk a little LSU football. That's right around the corner. You were just telling me off air the SEC Media Days is sometime around July 15th. That's incredible how early it is now.
It starts July 15th. They're going back to Hoover this year. They were in Atlanta last year. And LSU's on the first day. So it's 4 days.
Will you stay the whole time?
We do.
Okay.
We stay the whole time and do all the schools. And it's 3 schools the first day, 4 the next 2 days, 3 the last day. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's just everybody's there. And of course, you got all the fans downstairs.
Right.
We're going back to the Hyatt Regency in Hoover. And they're down there. The days that Alabama and Auburn are there is a real trip.
The not having a Steve Spurrier makes it a little bit more sterile. Those days were the good old days of
in general. The press conference. Without Steve Spurrier and Lou Holtz and Les Miles,
right.
It is a little more. It's a little more generic, a little more bland than it used to be.
Right.
Everyone kind of was expecting Ed Orgeron 2 years ago. What's he going to say? And then Ed kept it so close to the face. I think he was determined not to give off that Wild Boys image from Ole Miss that he's changed and matured in the job. And last year he opened up a little more, was a little more gregarious, and I hope he will be again this year. But he was very tight-lipped that first year.
Who's LSU bringing? Have they announced?
I don't think they have, but I would suspect Joe Burrow, and
sure.
There's always 3 players: Joe Burrow, somebody from defense. Rashard Lawrence went last year, and he loved it.
Right.
And they call it going to the car wash at ESPN in Bristol when the guys go to all the different spots, around the different radio shows and TV shows and podcasts. And Rashard said he loved it. He wants to go back.
Yeah. Got about a minute and a half left. Offense this year. We've heard for every year since they last won a national championship with Matt Flynn at quarterback, that the offense is changing, that the offense is going to open up. We got this new coordinator, we got this new system, we got some things we're working on in the spring. Call me crazy, but for whatever reason, this year, I'm buying, I'm believing. Are you?
I still want to see it against Georgia Southern, or maybe more likely against Texas in week 2. But I think so. I mean, you bring in a young guy like Joe Brady, who's got the RPO thing that he learned under Joe Moorhead when they were at Penn State, the coach at Miss State now, and then the Saints passing game principles. I think you're going to see a more open up offense, and this is what Joe Burrow did in high school and college. He's well suited to it in college at Ohio State. So I think so too, guardedly so, because he's been burned a few times. But yeah, I think so. I think we're going to see it.
Well, I sure hope you're right. We'll be checking you out. Where can folks follow you on Twitter?
I'm at Rabelais ADV. So if you can spell Rabelais and just tack on ADV for advocate, that's where I am.
You do a good job during baseball season. I follow you a lot on Twitter, and great work. Thanks for coming down. Good seeing you, Scott.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Appreciate it. Scott Rabelais, thanks to Glenn Gilbo, who joined us in the first part of the show. Sports Shorts each and every week right here on Pelican. Thanks for watching.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.